Video killed the radio star, but I tell you what, our next guest helped make some of the greatest TV stars you ever saw with your family in your living room. His name will have cropped up on the credits list in more television shows than you've had hot dinners. Here's an idea of some of them.
The following program contains naughty bits. But before each naughty bit comes on the screen, you'll hear this warning sound.
Which actors won this week on your Opportunity Knock?
Oh, does that not take you back and put you in such a happy place? Our very special guest tonight has been one of the most brilliant men in television. He's had the most astonishing career that's seen him mastermind most of the nation's beloved TV shows, like some of those you heard there. This Is Your Life, Opportunity Knocks, Kenny Everett, not to mention Kicking a Ball with Pavarotti and working with Hollywood greats John Wayne and Kirk Douglas. You'll have seen his name thousands of times on the list of credits as the shows that lit up your family viewing. And it's the greatest pleasure to welcome the remarkable director and producer, Royston Mayo. Hello, Royston.
Good evening, Linda. By Jove, I don't recognise myself from the intro.
What an amazing guy you are. And I tell you what, your book, if anybody wants to get it, I so recommend it. Royston Mayo's Revelations of a TV Director, one you wrote a couple of years ago. My goodness me. It is the most astonishing, enchanting read I've had for some time. Congratulations on it, and remembering it all as well. And there's so many Liverpool stars who you've worked with, especially on Opportunity Knocks, The Real Thing, Freddie Starr, Candlewick Green, Bernie Flint. That show must have been so exciting, but so demanding, Royston.
I don't know about demanding. It was certainly exciting every week. It was a different adventure every week. I mean, the audience were different then. The television viewing audience were a bunch of people that also went out to clubs and pubs and also live music, saw live music. So there was an awareness of entertainers about everybody. These days, that isn't the case. But in the Opportunity Knocks days, that was very, very important. I mean, the most important thing about that was people went on the show, and even if they didn't win, their money went up double, because the following week they could say, as appeared on TV, you know, even if they didn't win. So it made such an important part of their lives. But it was an exciting show, and it was full of goodwill. And it was a very healthy show to work on. I enjoyed every moment of it.
Oh, it's amazing that. But I can't, I was saying to the girls in the studio, Jan and Rachel are here, big fans of all your shows as well, Royston, and knew exactly who you were before I'd explained to them. Isn't that right, Rachel and Jan?
Definitely,
remember your name, Royston, so many thousands of times on TV shows. I wanted to know really more about your relationship with Hughie Green in talking about Opportunity Knocks, because he'd always say things that we remember well, like, I think we may have found our winner, Royston, or now, friends, I think we've got a picture of that, have we, Royston? So he was always mentioning your name, and he was, of course, I thought a scary person, because he was so much of a perfectionist. And I interviewed Hughie Green many years ago, long after his TV career was over. An extraordinary man himself, who told me all about his flying days as a squadron leader and an airline pilot. But for you, was he a scary person to work with?
He wasn't scary, but he was very inspirational. I learned an awful lot from Huey. Huey had an intensity which was different in those days. It was very, very difficult to pin him down to a particular political point of view, because he was all over the place politically. I mean, one minute he was incredibly left-wing for the working man, and the next minute he was very right-wing for the royal family and everything. It was quite a complex person. My relationship with him was difficult insofar that I was producer and director. Now, that might sound very flash, but it's two completely different jobs. The director bit of it is the good bit. That's the fun bit of it, where you're making people look good, or as well as you can make them look, feel, and create an atmosphere so that they can work best in it. That's great, the director bit. The producer bit was different insofar that I was in charge of the budget, which is always a problem in any form of life. But also the restrictions and the all the various compliances that were expected of TV programs by the IBA and the ITA and the authorities. And Huey Green was very, very often on the edge of what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. It was my job, initially being in the front line, to say to Huey, "No, sorry, old son, you can't say that." Okay. Now, this coming from somebody his junior by many, many years was always difficult. "What do you mean, old son? I can't say that." I can't say it because it's against the regulations. Sod the regulations was always his first standpoint. But so I said, "Well, if you say it, I'm going to edit it out. So, please say it, but give me an edit point because it's coming out anyway." So we had a relationship where he knew my job. He respected my job. He respected me, and I respected him. I wasn't trying to restrict him in any way, shape, or form, because you couldn't. Because as you discovered yourself, he's a very, very charismatic man.
Yes.
When he walked in the room was full of him. He had a very, very strong personality. And as I say, I learned a lot from him. What he knew about audiences and how to gather an audience and how to retain an audience was nobody's business. I learned an awful lot from him. And to this day, I've got nothing but respect and warm feelings for Huey.
Yes, that came across loud and clear in your book as well. Even though sometimes, he'd be on the phone to you, sometimes 3:00 in the morning, and you used to call them
infuriating.
Yeah, you'd hold your arm out, wouldn't you? Because he'd be roaring down the phone at you about something. Yeah. But you understood him.
One particular time, because he'd never say, "Hello, this is Huey," when he phoned up. He'd go straight into what he was saying. Like, "Have you seen this crap that's on the telly right now?" And it would be like, as you say, 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and he'd go, "What the hell's on to have a look?" And he'd bang on about it. In fact, he'd been watching his VHS at home.
Oh my God, and on his own, because inherently he was a lonely man, it seemed to me, Royston.
Well, he was a divorcee. He'd been divorced from the daughter of the Bank of Canada for many, many years, and he wasn't about to get married again. He got I don't know, half a dozen different lady friends, all of which were fabulous people, and all of which understood him completely, because you could so easily misunderstand Huey. But he was a heterosexual. He was a handsome man. He was a charismatic man. He was a rich man. He was a famous man. I never, ever, ever, ever witnessed him trying to pick up a lady, ever. I did, however, witness thousands of occasions where ladies tried to pick him up. That's a completely different thing altogether.
Oh, I can imagine.
I never ever saw him chase. I never ever saw him chase anybody.
And you sincerely believe that he did not know before he died that Paula Yates was said to be his daughter?
Oh, I'll go to my deathbed knowing that, because the reason is very simple. He knew that I'd been working with Paula Yates at Tyne Tees Television on a program called The Tube with rock and roll and all manner of people. So he knew that I knew Paula. Had he known that he was Paula's father, there is no way known to man that he would have kept that from me. He would have had to have told me. He would just have to have. He couldn't have. He couldn't have stopped himself.
Amazing.
I know that. I mean, that sounds very conceited of me, but I just know him so well. He could never have kept that secret. I mean, my wife Sarah and I were at his funeral, and when it was announced by this guy from the News of the World, Noel Botham, the gasp. The intake of breath in the crematorium nearly moved the altar from the walls. It was unbelievable. And I said to Sarah, "There's no way did he know about that."
Wow.
And you can understand why. I mean, the lady concerned, the mum concerned, must have made a few bob by selling the story to the News of the World. That I don't know. I do know that both of them made 25 grand out of it. I do know, that's a fact.
Gosh, amazing.
But Green was in his coffin, and he never knew. He really didn't know. Because apart from anything else, he would have been so proud.
Yes.
He would have been so proud of her, you know. He would have taken certain credit for her charisma, because she was a very charismatic young lady as well.
Yes, absolutely, and looked a bit like him. To be fair, now you're armed with that information. You can see the likeness, and
in retrospect,
yes, and he might not have been so lonely, if he'd come to know her and got on with her as I think they might well have done. I don't think that he would have been so lonely. But I know that you look very kindly on your days with him, and in fact you wish he would be remembered for the powerfully creative man that he was, who made stars out of so many people, instead of being remembered sometimes as he is, with rather at arm's length sort of admiration.
And there's nothing anybody can do about that. That's just the way it is. I mean, he was always a very easy target. He played into the hands of the press on many, many occasions. Sometimes out of sheer ruggedness, he felt sometimes like I'll give him a story they can, He was a naughty boy in many, many ways, but not naughty in a criminal way. He was like a big naughty boy. I've always thought of him like that.
Yes. I mean, it's. I was saying to the team earlier on. I mean, it's hard enough getting a radio show together and understanding all the equipment and making sure everybody's where they should be and everything. But I take my hat off to the gazillions of times you've been in the gallery, needing everybody in position, everybody in their place, every camera knowing what they were doing for a live transmission into like 25 million houses. So much more television in those days was live, which must have been a white knuckle ride most of the time. But you were...
It was.
Yes.
It was fabulous, Linda, but one has to say that the entire attitude of television making in those days was completely different. I mean, when the red light went on, everybody from the floor sweeper, the canteen lady, to the receptionist, to the cameraman, to the sound man, everybody reacted to the red light in the same way, and that meant we're on the air. There's no messing about now. This is for real. It was a completely and totally different attitude than it is now, and therefore I had the privilege of working with some of the best teams and people in the business. We'd rehearse and I would do a one rehearsal on a band. I'd make notes. I'd give numbers of shots out to the camera crew, and perhaps 6 hours later, they would have to recall those same shots off their piece of paper, and they would to a man. There was a tremendous mutual respect going between the director and the crews. I mean, if the crews didn't like a director, by Jove, the director knew about it. I always used to say, wherever I worked in the world, I directed in Japan, in America, in South Africa, all over the place. And I always maintained that the first 2 hours of being in a brand new studio with a brand new crew, the first 2 hours was spent with me finding out how big an idiot the crews were, and the crews finding out how big an idiot I was. That was the first 2 hours was spent just juggling about finding where the strengths lay. But I was very lucky, Linda. I worked I had 50 years doing it, and I worked in a time when it really was very, 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 very exciting. And it didn't matter what program you were involved with. It was exciting. I mean, This Is Your Life, live at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday. Yes. That was an exciting program to do. And Eamon was such a wonderful man. I miss him. And I had the privilege of working with some great people. That's what the book's about, really. I mean, I had the privilege of working with these tremendous people, and a certain code of conduct that said that I had to keep most of the stuff that happened confidential, of course, for obvious reasons. But, I worked with people when they were tired, when they were drunk, when they were upset, when they were unsure, when they were happy, when they were sad, like any other human being. And you get to know a person through all those various moods. But the extraordinary thing was that working with extraordinary people, extraordinary things happened, and that was the reason for the book. And thank you for reading the book. I'm glad you liked it.
Loved it.
But you'll recognise that all the stories in there are the things that happened as a result of just being somewhere at a certain time when something stupid happened.
Well, this is the thing about what captivates me about people like yourself, Royston, who've risen to the top in so demanding and competitive and ruthless a job, is that it's one thing being a creative thinker, but next level, in your case, is being a visionary, and yet you feel that everything good that happened to you was just luck.
Oh yeah, well, just good fortune. I mean, one has to recognise luck. I'll grant you that. But I didn't. When I say that I'm the luckiest man on the planet, I mean it, because I didn't plan anything that I did. I didn't sit down and say I am going now to work myself into a situation where I'm directing the Max Bygrave show. I didn't think I must do something in order to direct the Tommy Cooper show. I never did that. These things came to me by a phone call or by accident somewhere down the line. And everything that I'm accredited to came as a result of an accident. And if you like, good luck. That's the way I look upon it. I'm not being immodest in saying that. It's not false modesty. If I could say, I planned to do that, I worked so hard to get that show, I can't tell you. I will tell you that. But I didn't. Things happened along the way that you just went with the flow. And then afterwards thought, my job, that was a thing, And all those little, well, not all of them, as many as I could remember, are in the book. I mean, since I've written the book, I've said to my wife, Sarah, so many times, oh, I never put that in. Did I ever mention such and such a person? No, I never told that story in the book. Why didn't you remind me? And so many times since. So the book could have been twice as long, really.
Well, there's still...
I think it's probably...
You must do part 2.
It's probably the right length, is it, doing?
I definitely want to see part 2. I mean, This Is Your Life that you mentioned. I mean, you were with that programme for years, and that music alone, which I think was Laurie Johnson, wasn't it? That brings chills of anticipation. But how you pulled it off is incredible, because you had to have a team sworn to secrecy, a rendezvous that had one chance to get right. You had to disguise Eamon Andrews, one of the most famous faces on TV himself, and you had to whisk the surprise star to the studio in time for transmission to the nation at 7:00, and it so nearly went pear-shaped when you surprised people like the actor Terry Scott in the shop. Do you remember?
I do indeed. And then chasing back to the studio with Terry after we picked him up in his book signing in the shop, and it was a foggy night, and we were going from Frimley up the A3, I think it's the A3, back to the Euston studios, and it was foggy, and I was in the car in front of the car with the producer and Terry Scott in. I was in right, and Eamon was one car behind that. Like a flotilla going up the A3, and I was in the front car, and suddenly a policeman overtook us and waved me down. Right, and the driver pulled over and went, "Oh my God!" And I got out with all my arrogance and youth, and I said, "Look, Constable, it's all very well this, but we're on the air at 7:00, and look at the time now; it's only 25 to, and if we mess about, we're going to miss it. We're actually on the air live with This Is Your Life." And this constable said, "I've heard some stories in my life, but I've never wanted to be as hard as that." And then out of the fog, walking up the motorway, was Eamon Andrews with the red book. and I nearly collapsed with it. I just thought, what a wonderful visual. And this couple looked, he couldn't believe what he was seeing, because you can't argue Eamon Andrews with a red book. And he said, "Get in your car and follow me." And we were there in half the time. We had a police escort in. That was one of them.
Wonderful.
Eamon Andrews also came out with the greatest opening line to any show, anywhere ever in the world, when he said one day, "Hello, this is Eamon Andrews speaking to you from inside an Easter egg." Which was the first one.
We all remember those times you're talking about so well, and those incidents as well. And there was one night, I think you were going to surprise Colonel John Blashford Snell, the explorer, at after he'd done Desert Island Discs with the famous Roy Plumley.
That's right.
And you hadn't bargained for the fact that he was a top military person, and therefore people were watching his back, and you pounced on him on a traffic island.
Well, he was doing the Desert Island Disc with Roy Plumley at the BBC, and as you know, the BBC radio studios are over the road from the main BBC iconic building. And so we had this silly idea of Eamon standing on the traffic island between the BBC and the hotel and the studios, saying, "Hello, I'm standing on an island, but I'm after a man tonight who's been on more islands than you can," etc. That was the idea of it anyway. So Roy and Roy Plumley was in on it. So when they finished, Roy said to Colonel Snell, "We have to go across to the main building just for a moment. Come on." So certainly. So he followed him out and came on and Snell. We learned this afterwards. Snell noticed that his car wasn't there, and that was the first thing that he thought. "Hello, there's something wrong. My car isn't there." Right. Okay. So he walked up the road a little bit, and out of the corner of the top of his eye, he saw a flicker on a roof. In fact, it was one of my cameramen on the top of a roof.
Oh.
Right. and he thought it was a sniper.
Oh, gosh.
So he's ready, and he was armed, by the way. This is a true story. And he carried on walking, and the next thing, he's on a traffic island, and the first thing he hears on the traffic island is an Irish voice in the times of the Troubles.
Oh, no.
Hello, this is Eamon Andrews. And he said, if I'd not recognised you, I would have blown your head off.
Oh, gosh.
And he said that to Eamon.
I bet he would as well, because it's a highly trained man. You made several episodes of This Is Your Life, Royston, where the subject was a Hollywood star, like the actress Patricia Neal, and that took you to Hollywood to film tributes from some of the greatest movie stars who ever lived. And you had to film a tribute from John Wayne. Were you starstruck yourself, even though you were this big ticket?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally and utterly. His son, Michael Wayne, had arranged it and said, you be in Studio 18 in Beverly Hills at exactly 7:30 on this date, and we'll take it from there. So we turned up with this piece of paper saying that we spoke to Michael, and we set up our tiny little camera and our tiny little crew in this massive studio, and it was black. The studio was absolutely black in darkness. It was obviously a massive place, but very, very black in darkness. And we set up in this area that they'd allocated to us. And we thought, well, I can't imagine what's going to happen from here on in. Anyway, we're ready. We're ready. That's the main thing. And at the stroke of 8 o'clock, a beam of light appeared from the far end of the studio, and it was from a camper van, a recreational vehicle, they call them in America, a great big living space on wheels. And in the doorway was John Wayne.
Gosh.
Right? And he walked towards us, and it's the best impression of John Wayne walked out to see him on the satellite. It was unbelievable. And he said, hi, you guys. I can't do a John Wayne accent. I wish I could. And we just stood there, mouth open. And he said, where would you like me? What do you want me to do? And we told him where we'd like him, and what was sitting in the makeup chair being made up and turning to camera and doing a 1-minute tribute to Patricia O'Neill. And he said, okay, I got it. You tell me when you're ready and we'll go. And utterly professional. But the most important thing about this thing wasn't that was easy. He did it to exactly a minute, as you'd expect, but utterly professional. Anyway, but the most important thing was, he said, would you and the guys like to come back in the RV for a drink? We went, you joking?
Oh,
of course we would. So we went back in the RV for a drink with him. And then somebody came along and said, Duke, we're ready when you are. So he said, oh yeah. He said, you can come if you like. And this big black studio we'd been in was now full to the gunnels of groups of 6 to 10 people. And I'm talking about 200 different groups around the studio. And these were groups of people from all over the world that had won a competition, and the prize being Meet John Wayne. Right? And he walked around and he gave every group exactly the same smile and generous personality and completely positive to everybody around the room. And they all loved him. Everybody loved him to pieces. And I thought, my God, I've just seen what it takes to be an international film star.
Yes.
That's because these are the sort of things you never see ever happening.
Absolutely.
That took him about a couple of hours walking around, pulling the gun on everybody and having the picture taken with him going, and all the old-fashioned things. But you can imagine these photographs ending up on the ward on the mantelpieces of people all over the world, with pride.
Incredible.
Absolutely incredible, yeah, wonderful.
And unfortunately, one of your best moments with Kirk Douglas, who agreed to jump on a horse and do his tribute and then jump right off on that same horse, that ended up on the cutting room floor, didn't it?
It did, but it started off badly because he said, "What would you like?" So I said, again, the same thing. I'd like you to do 1 minute tribute to your time with Patricia O'Neill, your memories of Patricia O'Neill. And he said, yeah, but what do you want? So I said, well, that's what I want you to look into camera and do 1 minute of your memories of working with Patricia O'Neill. Yeah, but what do you want? and he got, I thought, you bastard, I'm really fed up with him. So eventually I said to him, I'll tell you what I want. I want you to come riding over the hill on the horseback, jump off the horse, run up to camera and tell me all about Patricia O'Neill for a minute. He said, how much money you got? So I said, $250, that's a lot. Well, what can you do? He said, leave it with me. I forget the name of the person now, the Wrangler. That's the Wrangler. You give the money to the Wrangler, and as soon as we're ready, we'll go. And he did. The Wrangler organised a trapeze, a little foot trapeze for him to jump on and off the horse, and organised the horse in the saddle and did the whole thing. And we did, and it was a fabulous piece. And Maurice Leonard, who was the researcher, and I went back, and we went, well, we're going to have to make room on the shelf for the BAFTA. I mean, this is a piece of film that is just unbelievable. It's, him coming over the hill, going to a pond, splashing, jumping off the horse, walking up to the camera and doing the piece, perfectly, by the way, and then jumping back on the horse and driving back into the sunset. That all happened in 1 minute 30 seconds. And I thought, well, we're obviously in for an award because it's just extraordinary.
Absolutely.
And then when we got back to England from America, Maurice and I were expecting a round of applause when he walks in the office for our piece with Kirk Douglas, and nobody mentioned a word. And the editors had gone, how long does it run? 1 minute 30. Oh, cut it, we only want a minute. So it never went on the air.
Oh.
And to this day, all that film is on a studio, on a cutting room floor somewhere, in a bin somewhere.
Amazing. But one thing that did make it, though, that you organised, and it was TV Gold for Time Warner when they wanted to promote the World Cup in concert, the Three Tenors were doing in 92, and they couldn't get a piece of Pavarotti smiling and Domingo and Carreras, and you bought a plastic prop. Your friend had asked you, could you come with him?
It was worse. It was worse than that. You have read the book, haven't you? By Joe. It was worse than that. My brilliant producer called Rocky Oldham had been contacted by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers had said to him, we haven't got any footage anywhere of Pavarotti kicking a football. We haven't got it, because he refuses point blank to kick a football, and his manager's the same, because of the story about him wanting to be a footballer many years before he became a tenor. And everybody wanted him to kick a football. So he said, if I do it once, I'll be doing it all over the place. So I'm not going to do it. So we haven't got any footage of him kicking a football. One day, if there's any chance, have we got any footage of him smiling? That's the other thing they didn't have. So Rocky Oldham said, well, leave it with me, I'll see what I can do. And he phoned me up and said, I've got a job for you. First of all, he said, how do you fancy lunch? I said, yes, certainly, any time with you, Rocky. Where? He said, Monte Carlo tomorrow, 1 o'clock. You're joking. No, I'll send you tickets through now. So Rocky told me what the job was. And I thought, well, I'm sure that I can make him kick a football. I'm sure of it. There's no man known to... No man can refuse to kick a football if it's in front of him, and that was my feeling about it. So I bought this football in H.W. Smith in Heathrow on our trip out to Monte Carlo, and I was with it in a string bag. And Rocky said, "I'm not walking into Monte Carlo with you holding a string bag with a football in it. That's for sure." You take care of your end of the stick, and I'll take care of my end of the stick. And together we'll join in the middle somewhere. Anyway, so at the hotel, he was staying at the hotel, and we knew he was going to come, so I thought, right, lovely. When he arrives at the hotel front, if I put the football on the step, when he gets out of the car, he's got two options. He can either ignore it completely or he can kick it. Right, one or the other. And I don't think he's going to ignore it, because no human being would ignore a football. No man, anyway, would ignore a football if it was just there. Tap it at least. So I put this football on the thing, and the walkie-talkie went, Pavarotti, Pavarotti, Pavarotti. Pavarotti's going, Pavarotti. Every other way, stand by, roll the cameras, right, and out came a complete stranger of the car, kicking me down football, right? Oh no, we've blown it now. And this young doorman at the Monte Carlo Hotel picked it up, and he was going to dispose of the football. And I said, "You leave that football alone. And if you touch my football again, I shall personally do some damage to you." See, and you understand what I'm saying. But anyway, and I mean, this coming from me is ironic, because I can't stand football. This is so the crew were absolutely amazed at me being so passionate about football when they knew that I couldn't give a damn for football anyway. So it went back on the thing, and out Pavarotti got, and he kicked it, and the roar went up inside the hotel, right? Nobody realised that he hadn't spoken a word yet. Didn't have to, because what we bit all the entire thing was about him kicking the football, and he kicked it. So I had that on film, and to my delight, it's actually in Ron Howard's film about Pavarotti.
Yes.
We're not credited anywhere down the line.
No.
Neither Rocky or me, all the occasion is credited, but it's actually in the film. So, they too had difficulty finding him kicking the football.
Amazing.
And it was and it was part of the World Cup promotional video as well, which was the whole point of it, really.
Well, you scored
very happy.
You scored a goal that nobody else could get other than you, Royston, in television. And there's so many more stories that I'd love to have you, if you'd have a chat one Sunday night again with us, because there's so many stories I wanted to ask you about. Like when you taught Mike Yarwood everything about TV technique using your mother's Eubank. I mean, I love that story. Oh, that's a great story, that. And David Nixon and how he taught
Linda,
you how to...
Linda, I would love to do another. Absolutely love to.
Oh, we'll do part
delightful.
2. We'll do
I can't believe the time.
I know, isn't it crazy? I know, this has been longer than an episode of This Is Your Life. And we haven't even touched the surface. So will you promise me we can chat to you again on a Sunday night?
I would love to.
And get part 2.
Thank you for reading the book.
Oh, I'm loved
so
it.
impressed with you.
Royston, I've absolutely loved it. Honestly, I can't wait for part 2 of the book, as well as chatting to you again. There's so many more things I want to ask you. And I think you've had the most incredible life. I know that one of your biggest pieces of luck in life was meeting your beloved wife, Sarah, who I think has been your prompt in the background there. I heard her voice earlier on, and that was lovely.
Absolutely.
And hello, Sarah. And we had Freddie Parrotface Davis was a guest on the show a few weeks ago, and I know he's written the foreword for your book, and he said that individuals like Royston Mayo have this uncanny ability to create worlds, captivate audiences, and shape the cultural landscape. And you've done that in spades. And what a thing to be able to say that this is your life, Royston Mayo. And thank you for the decades of the warmest family memories that we've all got.
Bless your heart.
Huddled in front of a TV set in a coal-fired living room, watching the kind of top-quality, timeless television you produced and directed. And thank you for spending your Sunday night with us and all our audience, all of whom of being your audience over the last 50 years. Lovely, Royston.
Thank you very much indeed.
So enjoyed.
What a lovely radio. I've enjoyed every second of it. Thank you.
I'm so pleased, and so pleased that you've promised now in front of everybody that you'll be back on the radio to talk to us some more about your wonderful life. Bless you, Royston. Thank you so much. And love to Sarah, and we'll speak to you next time, and look forward to it very much. Bye for now, Royston.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Royston. Oh, I'm just delighted. I've got to... Well, you two know, Jan and Rachel, how much more... I've got reams and reams and reams more questions I want to ask Royston about. And I'm just delighted that he's... You can just get a flavour, can't you, of the kind of life that he's lived, which is just phenomenal. Being at the heart of some of the most precious and beloved TV shows of all time, and so we've got to hear more from Royston about those wonderful times, and the Hollywood, the grumpiest star in Hollywood as well, that he didn't have as nice a time as he had with John Wayne and Kirk Douglas with, that's for sure. He really did not, and I can tell. I'll save that till next time, you see, and I'll let Royston tell you about that. But also, you know, the wonderful other shows that he was part of, which has been absolutely amazing career of Royston Mayo. Back on your Sunday night here on Liverpool Live very, very soon, I hope. Jan and Cosmic are with us. Andy's in the control room on 0151 6400 100 if you want to comment on Royston or anything else. 0151 6400 100. See you after the news.
On air, online, on your smart speaker and Freeview channel 277. This is Liverpool Live News.